Chapter 1. The warning on the door. The eviction notice fluttered like a wounded bird on the old oak door, its edges curling in the breeze. Bright red ink screamed, $725,000 fine, across the top, as if shouting the amount in everyone's face. Beneath that, in smaller letters, it read, "You have 30 days. The HOA president, a woman with a clipboard smile and the emotional range of a parking ticket, smirked from her golf cart parked across the yard. She looked at us like we were bugs she'd just stepped on. "You have 30 days, Beverly said as if she was doing us a favor. Her voice was flat, almost bored. My grandfather, who had built this lake house long before the HOA ever arrived, just sipped his iced tea and chuckled. His eyes twinkled with defiance. "They're going to wish they brought lawyers, not lawn chairs," I whispered, still frozen on the porch. I half expected hidden cameras to pop out or someone to yell prank, but no. Just the hum of the lawnmowers, the distant drone of the golf cart, and the sneer on Beverly's face. The small army of HOA volunteers was already measuring the dock, poking at Grandpa's flower beds with rulers, and scrutinizing the paint shade of the shutters like they were detectives at a crime scene. The violations listed, backdated to 1952, were ridiculous. Unauthorized dock installation, unpermitted boathouse, mismatched mailbox color, and even Grandpa's metal flamingos. A fine for everyone, stacked like a tower of Monopoly money. Stared at the paper, feeling my stomach knot tighter. "They can't do this," I said, voice rising. "They can't go back 60 years and just make up fines." Grandpa finally set his glass down, giving me a sideways look. "Of course they can't," he said softly. "That's why it's going to be so much fun watching them try." Across the yard, Beverly, a woman named Beverly with her clipboard, and a smug smirk, called out, "Don't forget the back fence, I think it's 6 inches too high." Her minions scurried to obey, measuring and marking the fence with a precision that made my head spin. Grandpa pushed himself out of his rocking chair with a grunt, gripping his carved oak walking stick. "When I built this place, there was nothing but trees, water, and mosquitoes the size of baseballs," he said thoughtfully. "No gates, no guards, no HOA, just freedom." He patted the porch post like it was an old friend. "They didn't build this land. We did, and now they think they can fine us into submission." He looked out toward the lake, eyes steady, the reflection shimmering like glass. "They'll wish they brought lawyers," he repeated, a quiet grin on his face. I followed him to the end of the dock, past the cracked bird bath and Grandpa's old, homemade bench that had seen more family barbecues than I could count. The weathered wood was still sturdy beneath his boots. He stopped, eyes on the shimmering water. "You know why I never worried about those HOA folks?" he asked, voice low. "Because I knew they'd come sniffing around," he continued, "and I made sure I had a little insurance." "Insurance?" I asked, heart pounding. Grandpa tapped his temple, a secretive smile on his face. "Pap work," he said. "Old paperwork, the kind even the biggest blowhards can't argue with." He turned back toward the house, leaving me, with a sense that somehow we were already winning this game. I hesitated, then followed, but as we headed inside, I caught Beverly shouting one last time, "You have until the end of the month. After that, we'll proceed with reclamation." Grandpa tipped his hat at her with a 2-finger salute. Without a word, he disappeared into the house, and I stood there clutching the eviction notice, feeling a strange mix of anger, confusion, and cautious hope. This wasn't over yet. Not by a long shot. Grandpa handed me the leather satchel with a calm look that hid his true intentions. "Always keep your paperwork, kiddo," he whispered. "You never know when it might save your bacon." I nodded, feeling the weight of the folder in my hands. We were about to walk into the lion's den, and I could tell Grandpa believed we had the trump card. As we approached the town's lawyer's office, Beverly's voice echoed in my mind. Her threats, her sneers, the way she thought we were beaten already. But Grandpa's grin told me otherwise. He was playing a long game, and I had just begun to understand how deep it went. The lawyer's door swung open before we could even knock. Mr. Dempsey was an old man with a thick beard and a twinkle in his eye that made you think he knew secrets the universe didn't want you to hear. He peered over his glasses, eyes widening as he looked at the papers we laid on his cluttered desk. You're telling me they slap a $725,000 fine on a dock built in the 1950s? He asked, voice thick with disbelief. Grandpa nodded. Yup, and they're trying to do it retroactively, all the way back to 1952. Mr. Dempsey's fingers tapped the desk. Then he leaned back, considering. This is solid. The original deed, long, before the HOA existed, exempts your land from their rules. They have no authority over this property. I felt a surge of hope, but I kept my face steady. Wait, I interrupted. What about the other stuff, the violations, the fines? He chuckled softly. All nonsense. They're trying to scare you, but they're overreaching. They don't have a leg to stand on. A moment of silence stretched between us. Then, Grandpa reached into his pocket and pulled out a small notebook. He scribbled something down, slid it across the desk, and said, That's the date of their next meeting. We wait, and when the time's right, we make our move. My stomach, twisted with a mixture of nerves and adrenaline. We were sitting on a ticking bomb, but Grandpa's calm told me we had the fuse. Walking out of the office, I looked back at the town, at the quiet streets and the distant lake shimmering in the afternoon sun. It was strange. Like everything, had paused waiting for something big to happen. Grandpa's voice broke the silence. They think they've won, but they're just digging their own grave. I looked at him in surprise. What do you mean? He smiled, a slow, knowing smile that sent a shiver down my spine. Because we've got more than just the deed. We've got history, old documents, and a little insurance policy I've been keeping secret for years. He winked. And when the time is right, we'll remind them who really owns this land. That night, as I lay in bed, I kept replaying everything, the threats, the fines, the lawyer's words. But beneath it all, a seed of confidence had taken root. We weren't just fighting for a house. We were fighting for our right to stay, to keep what was ours no matter how big or powerful they thought they were, because Grandpa had played the long game, and I knew, deep down, that we had already won. Grandpa's grin widened as he looked at the chaos unraveling in the courtroom. Beverly, red-faced and sputtering, was desperately trying to claw back control, but the room had turned against her. Mr. Dempsey's voice boomed loud and clear, echoing through the stunned silence. This property isn't under your jurisdiction. The original deed, the water rights, the exemptions, those are ironclad. Your fines and threats are nothing but smoke and mirrors. Beverly's eyes darted wildly, but she had no words left. The crowd, once silent and uncertain, now murmured in agreement, some nodding, others whispering. The truth had surfaced, and it was a tidal wave she couldn't stop. Grandpa stepped forward, calm as a mountain. We built this place with our own hands. It's been ours long before anyone thought to draw lines or put up fences. And now they're trying to steal it with paper threats and bogus fines. His voice carried weight, each word piercing the air like a dagger. But I've got the proof. Old deeds, signed by the governor himself, that say this land belongs to us, forever. He held up the ancient, cracked document for everyone to see. The room fell deathly quiet. For a moment, it was like the world paused. Then, with a slow, deliberate smile, Grandpa turned to Beverly. You threaten us with fines and take us to court, but you forget one thing. The law is on our side, and I've got a whole box of old paperwork that proves it. He reached into his coat pocket, pulled out a small weathered leather folder and flipped it open. Inside, yellowed papers and maps spilled out, each one stamped and signed decades ago. The crowd stared, spellbound. Looks like you've been barking up the wrong tree, Grandpa said softly. This land's protected. It's exempt from your rules. And I've got the legal papers to back it up. Beverly's face twisted in disbelief. Her lips trembled. She tried to speak. But no, words came. The room, once tense with hostility, erupted in cheers and applause. The judge, watching silently from his seat, finally spoke. Based on the evidence, the claims against this property are invalid. The case is dismissed. A loud gasp rippled through the crowd. Beverly's shoulders slumped, defeated. Her empire, her power, crumbled in front of everyone, Grandpa's voice rang out, steady and sure. This land has always belonged to us. No rules made up later can change that. And nobody, no HOA, no government, can take what's rightfully ours. He closed the folder with a decisive snap, smiling softly. It's over. We've won not just the fight, but the war for our home. And I promise you, no one will ever take it from us again. As the crowd cheered and the courtroom emptied, I looked at Grandpa feeling a rush of pride and awe. He had played the long game, outsmarted the system, and in the end he'd rewrote the rules. We stepped out into the sunlight, the lake shimmering peacefully behind us, as if the whole world was finally right again. Grandpa turned to me, his eyes shining. "Remember this day," he said quietly, "because sometimes the biggest battles are won not with fists, but with facts and a little old paper." And in that moment I knew nothing would ever be the same. The land was ours, and no one, not even the mightiest HOA, could ever take that away.